Meow! Welcome to the PodKat. This is my pod. I am Kat. Good morning. It is Sunday, April 5th, and I am here with my guest today, Dr. Lauren.
Almost Dr. Lauren.
Almost Dr. Lauren is here today. Hey, Lauren, how you doing, girl?
Good, how about you?
I'm hanging in there. Who are you, if not Dr. Lauren, and where are you coming to us from?
Who am I, if not Dr. Lauren? That's a hard question because over the past 4 years, that's all I've been stuck. Currently a newly minted cat mom, so that's pretty cool. But my name is Lauren Page. I am a fourth-year medical student. I graduated in May from the University of Utah. And I will be doing a residency in obstetrics and gynecology starting July 1st out in Connecticut. So I am coming to you from Srsly, Montana. I spent the first 2 weeks of quarantine down in Salt Lake City and then ran away to go visit my parents.
Okay, so you were telling me that graduation is now off the table as far as walking across the stage, which is so sad.
This is pretty sad. I think a lot of my classmates have this sort of grieving period that we're all going through, and that sounds so stupid in light of everything else. But you know when you have this vision of how your medical school experience is going to end, and a lot of it revolves around being able to put on a ridiculous-looking outfit as far as like robes and getting hooded as you go across the stage with all of your friends and family there, and then all of a sudden that's no longer there. It's a little bit sad. But plus side, you can still celebrate with, friends and family.
Yeah.
Right. You can do your own little graduation ceremony if you want to over Zoom, because we're all getting really good at Zoom now, apparently. So
as I told you last week, I got a cute new haircut. It's not drastic, but I just got like a little chopped off the end. It's looking healthy, and I'm like super irritated that no one can see it because now I'm in quarantine. Right? So we're allowed to be irritated about the small things, but my haircut is a smaller thing, and I'm still irritated. So I can't even imagine having graduation canceled. That is sad. So I feel like I need to preemptively call you Dr. Lauren just so you feel honored still. So you were in Utah doing your classes, and then did it just get wrapped up and canceled? Did they go online?
Yeah, so at the beginning of March, I started my ICU rotation, and it's a capstone class. For all fourth-year medical students at the University of Utah, you have to do this ICU rotation set. And so it was kind of an interesting time because coronavirus was just kind of starting to pop up in the U.S. I mean, we'd had cases in the U.S. in Washington State since the end of January, I think, and then it started popping up in New York, Washington, D.C., things like that throughout February. And then at the beginning of March is when things really started to ramp up. So it was really interesting for the first 2 weeks of that ICU rotation to hear all of the preparations going on at the University of Utah for coronavirus to finally come to our state. And it was actually kind of interesting because at first they were thinking that they were going to just shut down one hallway in the ICU, and they had all of these plastic walls up and all of the pappers and cappers, which are personal protective equipment, hanging up on that side of the ICU. So they had that all set up, and then they just kind of started to realize that this was a much bigger problem than just one hallway. So it was interesting because there were a couple of rule-out patients that came in while I was there, and medical students were not allowed to provide any care to them. They were trying to limit the number of people that were going into those rooms. But it went from them all being in one hallway to them being sort of scattered throughout the ICU. So the conversation transitioned from, you're not allowed to take care of any of these patients, to, we're getting concerned, you all probably are going to have to be tested, to, we're pulling you out of clinical responsibilities. So
did they end up testing y'all?
No, they didn't.
Okay.
So they were working on that because they wanted to make sure that we were all still healthy, but before they were able to get access to those tests, they pulled us out.
So what lies between you and official doctorhood at this point?
One more online class to do. We'll see how it goes. I've been finding it really hard just to kind of stay focused.
You got your handful of cats as well.
Yes, I do. They're very good kitten coworkers.
Kitten coworkers? You gotta be kidding me.
Exactly.
Ridiculous. So you're back with your family in Montana now, And then when you finish your online course, you will head to your new hospital
in Stamford, Connecticut. So that is half an hour outside of New York City. I've been paying very close attention to the number of cases that have been reported daily in those two areas.
New York State, not New York City, but New York State has more cases than any other country in the world except for Italy and Spain.
Astounding.
Absolutely astounding.
I remember just sitting there in shock when I saw that the U.S. had finally surpassed China.
As of right now, I'm looking on the dashboard. Connecticut has around 5,000 cases, and where I am in California is 14,000 cases. So, you're beating me out. I don't think Montana's even, on the board. Let's see.
Not really.
Oh, Montana's only 286. Wow.
Yeah, I was going to say it's definitely less than 1,000 here.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I was like, all right, it's up and time to move. I'm not going to stay in Salt Lake City anymore. It's time to go hang out with my parents and their dogs.
So you're going to be a gynecologist next fall, is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, so I know that this is not your wheelhouse with disease and stuff, but I have some questions. My friend Nova answered some of my questions that I wondered if it was misinformation or real about disease spread and that sort of thing. So medically, maybe you can tell me if this makes sense. I have this concern that we're all sharing laundry rooms. So say that someone in my apartment was infected and then used the washer and dryer. Am I at risk if I use the same washer and dryer?
I don't think so. Your clothes are going to be fine.
You think so?
Yeah, I think your clothes will be fine. You're washing them with water and soap, so that's what you do with your hands. I think the thing that I would be concerned about with shared laundry facilities is not the actual clothes themselves, but making sure that you're wiping down the knobs and things like that before you touch them.
Even when I check the mail, I'm go inside and wash my hands immediately. Like if I leave my home, which I haven't done in over 2 weeks, oh my gosh, I haven't been out of my house since March 17th except to go for a run. But if I go for a run or check my mail, I wash my hands, clean everything down if I go to the laundry facility. But I was just wondering about everyone using the same washer and dryer, if it kind of gets washed away because of the chemicals.
I think so. That's the way that I've been approaching it, but it's a really good question.
Well, what about a public swimming pool? I know chlorine kills everything, but does it? Should I not ask for a new swimsuit for my birthday? Because it was on my mind. There's a new cheetah bikini I want.
I'm not sure if chlorine kills viruses. I would have to look that up. That's a really good point. Ideally, if everyone, I think it kind of goes back to the same point. If everyone is touching the same handrails to get in and out of the pool, that's where I would be more concerned.
Well, if no one else were in the pool, I would not be in the pool if anyone else were in the pool. But I was thinking about my own apartment complex. There's a tiny pool in there. And I was like, if no one else were in there, because it's getting real hot here. I was like, I wonder if I could get in. And then I was like, I wonder if that's a really bad idea.
I bet you could go in, just like down surfaces.
I don't want to chance fate, but I just wanted to get someone with some medical background's input.
I'm going to have to look this up now. That's a very interesting question. Does chlorine kill coronavirus?
Okay, and then the last thing I wanted to ask about, I didn't know this until my wife Kim yesterday said, when someone goes on a ventilator, it's like a medically induced coma. Is that accurate?
It's not quite a coma. There's a number of things that happen when you have to establish an airway in someone. So you do something called rapid sequence intubation, and a lot of times that requires a paralytic, short-acting paralytic most times, and then there's a sedative. And so it would be really unfortunate if you were paralyzed and then were awake throughout that whole time knowing that you weren't able to breathe. So there's usually a paralytic and a sedative, and then there's something usually for pain management. Because a lot of the times the disease process that requires ventilation is relatively painful, and quite honestly, having a tube down your throat is not the most comfortable thing in the world, or so I've been told. So those are 3 medications that are often given. Usually like I said, right after you get the airway established, you don't really need the paralytic anymore. So that's why it's a rapid-acting medication. It wears off pretty quickly. For the first couple of days of ventilation, then usually people will be on a sedative and then some sort of pain medication. And that's just to kind of help them to heal a little bit faster initially. Because if you're sitting there trying to fight the machine that's trying to help you breathe, because you can't breathe on your own, it doesn't help much if you're trying to fight that machine, if that makes sense. The interesting thing that I did learn from my ICU rotation is when you're on a ventilator, you do get daily sedation vacation. So they do wean you off of your sedating medication because they want to ultimately get you off of that as quickly as possible. And getting off of sedation helps with preventing things like delirium.
Well, I appreciate all of that feedback. I think that in my mind, a ventilator was like when you go to the dentist and they like give you gas or whatever, and like they kind of put that, and then you're just kind of like breathing for a bit. Like I thought it was kind of a fancy inhaler. I didn't realize it was like a tube down your throat and everything.
Yeah, so there are a couple of different airways that you can use, but the spectrum sort of goes from breathing on your own to having to have this tube down your throat. So if we're going to work our way up the spectrum, you go from breathing room air to needing a nasal cannula, and that's something that you often, various medical shows, so like Grey's Anatomy, if you see a patient with sort of that clear white tube in their nose that kind of wraps around their ears on both sides, that's a nasal cannula. If they're not saturating well, so if the machines are telling us that, the monitors are telling us that you're not having appropriate oxygen saturation, it goes from 0 to 100%, and we want it usually above 90% oxygen saturation. So if you're not saturating well, then you can transition over to one of those face masks that you were talking about, Kat. Mm-hmm. And there are a couple of different types of those face masks, but I won't go into it. But basically, as you progress up the face mask chain, you can get more oxygen delivered to you. So there are those. And then we go into the non-invasive positive pressure ventilation, which are things like CPAP and BiPAP. And oftentimes you hear of those mechanisms for people who have sleep apnea at night. So a lot of people in the U.S. especially.
I've heard that, like, Amy Poehler swears by her CPAP machine. She loves it. But I think it can also help with, like, snoring if it's sleep apnea related.
Exactly. Yeah. So basically what a CPAP does is it just provides a little extra pressure support so that your lungs don't fully collapse. So it kind of keeps your lungs a little tiny bit open each time you exhale so that it's easier to inhale again when you do take another breath. So that BiPAP is giving you that little extra support when you exhale, but it also gives you a little bit of support when you inhale as well. And both of those are just masks that sit on your face. A ventilator then is having the tube down your throat, and it's basically an internal BiPAP machine. So you're getting support when you exhale and when you inhale.
Well, now I understand why they're saying we don't have enough of these ventilators, because I was like, isn't it kind of just like basically a CPAP machine? Like I didn't understand the extremity of it. And I think if more people understood like it's that intense of a process, then they might be more likely to not go out right now and to actually follow guidelines of sheltering in place and washing their hands, and I might not risk swimming in the public swimming pool, etc. So, like, it really makes you want to reduce your chance of exposure.
Right. Being on a ventilator there are a couple of different things in medicine that I would absolutely never want to have happen to me, and being on a ventilator is one of them.
Well, I'm grateful it exists for people who need it, but yeah, I like Kim was telling me that she didn't realize like before you go on a ventilator, you have to have a conversation with someone to make like a decision about pulling the plug kind of a decision, end of life discussions with significant other.
Right. Sort of stemming off of that, we actually had a really interesting class. I believe it was on Wednesday. We were supposed to sign into the Zoom meeting to hear a registered nurse, a palliative care registered nurse, discuss how or what the appropriate measures are or the appropriate ways of approaching those end-of-life conversations with COVID patients in particular. Because right now, a lot of the hospitals have put in place that family members aren't allowed to be there anymore. It's a tough circumstance, right? Because you need to understand the patient's wishes before you progress to that sort of support, potentially. Because ultimately, if we do run out of ventilators, then we need to know, what the patient's wishes are for remaining on a ventilator if they're not progressing or, what have you. There are a lot of really interesting ethics actually coming out with this whole COVID picture. And there was a really cool paper that came out of Italy a couple of weeks ago actually outlining the way that they've approached ventilator shortages. I'm going to try and find that.
Does that vary by hospital or country by country as far as like who gets priority?
I think it's hospital by hospital so far.
And that's why they were saying like this week, next week is so essential that you don't get exposed, because the boom that will happen in the next few weeks, there just is not supplies. And I can't imagine like being in the position to have to make that decision right now about who gets treatment.
Right. The other paper that I found really interesting and that came out last week, I believe it was in JAMA, was basically discussing a proposed approach within the United States to make some of these decisions. And what these authors were suggesting is that there's a separate, basically panel, I guess, for lack of a better way of saying it. There's a panel of physicians who would make the calls so that the physicians actually taking care of the patients can still advocate appropriately for their patients. So it would almost be this sitting body of physicians that are just looking at the objective measures, how old the patient is, how well they're doing, what sort of comorbidities do they have.
Sure. Wow, that's like so much in place to have to think about. I just think about checking into the hospital and getting treated, but there's just so much going on in times like this of crisis. Does it make you feel empowered that you have all this medical knowledge, or does it scare you because you actually know what's going on?
I've actually been struggling with both sides of that recently. At the beginning of all of this, I felt a little bit more empowered because I felt like I was still contributing somewhat to patient care. Medical students aren't the biggest part of the team, and I fully realize that and recognize it. But we are helpful in the sense that we can get notes done and check on the less critical patients, things like that. So I felt a little bit more empowered that way and felt like I could communicate with my friends and family a little bit more effectively on what was actually happening and why it was important to kind of keep your distance and wash your hands and not touch your face and things like that. But I have felt more and more scared and less empowered since they removed us from clinical responsibility. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's sort of a two-pronged issue because I don't feel like I'm being helpful at all. A bit of a struggle for me because you sign up for this lifestyle and you sign up for this profession because you want to be able to help people. And all of these doctors are saying that, they're facing shortages and they're working super long hours and things like that, and you want to be able to carry some of that load. But you're still not a fully minted MD, even though you will be in 4 weeks or, whatever the case may be. So there's that. And then, reading through some of the journal articles and things like that have recently come out about various proposed treatments. Coming up with a vaccine and coming up and testing these different treatments takes time, and I think that that's why I've been a little bit more scared just because the scientific process works, but you need time. And so I think that that's sort of the biggest takeaway point for me is that you need to stay home and you need to wash your hands so that you can allow these treatments to be tested. So you can give that buffer of time to people who need it to try and help us figure this whole thing out.
Well, having been in the hospitals and such this past spring, what do you wish that people at home knew who don't really know anything about this disease? Because we've been told, stay home, wash your hands. Is there anything else that you wish people had an understanding of right now to help reduce cases?
I think my biggest message is that you need to try and refrain from buying face masks and things like that for yourself. I think that when you get scared, it's super easy to try and buy something that would sometimes be perceived as an easy fix, but those materials are running short, and I think that they need to be given to the physicians and the rest of the care team, so the respiratory therapists, the nursing staff, everyone that's working so diligently in the hospital to try and mitigate this crisis. They're the ones that actually really need that. If you have symptoms at all, I think it's really important to stay home. Like, you may or may not have COVID, but it's still important to stay at home and sort of treat yourself like you are infected until you know that you're not, if that makes sense. And I know that that's really hard given it's allergy season and it's still kind of cold outside, so some people can have shortness of breath from things like asthma. Don't get paranoid, but, because these things are treatable. But if you're even a little bit concerned, just kind of stay home and minimize your contact with people.
I know that some government authorities, I know that Colorado told people that they should now wear the masks. And I believe the president told people that they should now be wearing masks. And everything had been don't wear masks. And then as of the last 2 days now, certain, when they issue those shelter-in-place things, I believe the Colorado governor told people yes to wear the masks. And I was really shocked by that turnaround because I had been told, no, it doesn't really stop you from getting sick. It just is supposed to help if you already are sick to reduce exposure to other people. But certain companies, the grocery store that my wife works for is now making them wear masks, which is a sudden turnaround from having not wanted to do that. So so I was kind of surprised by that turnaround because I know that stuff needs to be reserved for medical teams.
Yeah. I wonder if some of that has to do with the CDC's guideline recommendations. I need to read more into it, but my understanding so far is that they started recommending wearing homemade masks. Mm-hmm. Again, I need to read more into that. So I wonder if that's what they're getting at.
Oh, yeah, the homemade. Yeah, they're definitely recommending that people make their own. And
if you make your own, or if you're using a cloth mask, I guess that's sort of a different story. But going out and buying surgical masks or even N95 masks for yourself, I think should be saved. I think that should be saved for medical personnel. My question is, what are you doing with it once you take it off?
Ooh, yeah. The grocery store that my spouse works at is just littered. The parking lot is covered with those masks and gloves. She says it's so gross. She was showing me pictures of people just throwing them on the ground. They use it to get in the car, or they use it to get in through the store, and then when they get in their car, they literally throw it on the ground.
That makes me frustrated.
That's so gross.
That gets back to my point, right? So, if you're using it, in theory, if you're using it to protect yourself against the virus, and you think that it has virus on it, what good is it going to do if you don't dispose of it properly, right? Which kind of gets back to my point about reserving that for medical personnel, because there are ways to dispose of it properly. I don't know what the good solution is for that.
Yeah, it's so gross. Well, why do they even sell you were talking about the N95 and the medical mask. Why do they sell those for consumers?
So there are businesses that require that level of protection. So an N95 mask, the reason why it's called 95 is supposed to capture 95% of aerosolized material. Some of those masks are required for professions like drywallers and painters and things like that, so they're not constantly breathing in the particles that they're creating while they're completing their work. Oh. So that's why they're commercially available.
Okay. When I used to develop film in college, I would have to wear some kind of a mask when I was in the dark room, but I don't remember how serious it was. I think it was kind of a flimsy one, but I guess that makes sense if you are working with toxic chemicals. But I think probably part of the problem is just right now that there's not enough and that everybody's in the hospital at the same time, as we already discussed. So, well, one thing that I think is going to make you a really incredible doctor, that I think has made you a good medical student up to this point, is your competitive nature and your work ethic. But I also know that you and I have exchanged many rubber ducks throughout the years. True story. So where am I going with this? Well, I came up with a short trivia game for you about rubber duck knowledge. And brought you on as an expert today to see if you can answer these questions.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay. Is there a pirate rubber duck?
Yes.
There is a pirate rubber duck. Is there
I own one of them.
Arr. Is there a rubber duck Elvis?
Yes, I think I've seen one of them.
That's true. Is there a rubber duck frog?
Yes.
There is not only a rubber duck frog, there's also a rubber duck wearing a frog hat, and a rubber duck sailor with a frog on his back, and a rubber duck with a frog suit sewn around him. So that is really a strong market there.
I am clearly going to be on Amazon shopping for
You
today.
need them all now. Is there a clown rubber duck?
Yes.
Is there a hang gliding rubber duck?
I hope so, but I'm not sure. I'm going to say no to that one, but I hope it's created soon.
You're correct. There's no hang gliding rubber duck that I could find. It might exist, but in my extensive research 5 minutes before I called you today, could not find one. Kind of shocked me.
Now we can make millions off of creating a hang gliding rubber duck.
I was just Googling things this morning, like, does this exist? How about this? Is there a chicken rubber duck?
Yes.
Yes, there's white rubber chicken duck. There's... I just realized how stupid that is. It's a duck and a chicken. There's a brown chicken, and
they should make a turducken.
Yes!
Rubber duck.
The most horrifying one was a brown chicken, but with a duck's head.
No.
And actually, no, I'm sorry. The most horrifying was the yellow rubber duck wearing a chicken mask, which really bothered me. Where was the rest of the chicken in this universe where rubber ducks exist? Is there a Frodo Baggins?
Yes.
There is. He's really cute. Is there a...
I hope that there's an entire suite of Lord of the Rings rubber ducks.
I didn't look for a Gollum. Oh, there's got to be a Gandalf.
There has to be.
Is there a rubber duck? I was going to say chicken. Is there a rubber duck shaped like a block of cheese?
No.
There is not only a rubber duck shaped like a block of cheese, there's also a Holland Dutch girl duck with tulips and block of cheese in her hand. There's also Parisian rubber duck with a black beret, a baguette, and a block of cheese in his hand.
No.
I know. Is there a Yoda rubber duck?
Yes.
There is. There's also a Spock rubber duck. I realize those are different universes, but it was really cute.
Being equal opportunists.
Yeah, Star Wars, Star Trek.
And Star Trek fans alike. Yeah. That is wonderful.
A duck for everyone. In your last question, is there a Mickey Mouse rubber duck?
There should be. I hope so.
There is not one that I could find. There was a lot of Donald Duck ducks, but I could not find a rubber duck that had like Mickey ears or anything like that. So
I'm shocked about that.
I know. So 80% is pretty good. Pretty good score there. 8 out of 10. Okay, so I have 5 trivia questions for you to complete your rubber duck knowledge. The first rubber ducks started appearing in the late 1800s, the mid-1920s, or 1952.
I am going to guess the 1800s.
That is correct. Good guess. I was kind of shocked by this, but apparently when they started like the big factory boom in the late 1900s, they were like, you know what? We've got this rubber factory. Let's
we're going to go ahead and make
crank out some ducks. Is the rubber duck in the Toy Hall of Fame?
It should be.
It should be.
I think so.
And it is. In 2013, I don't know, they really took their time doing that, but they inducted him into the Toy Hall of Fame.
Good job, Rubber Ducky. Good job.
You did it, little guy.
You did?
Which Sesame Street character popularized the rubber duck in America in 1970 with his rubber duck song?
I think it was Bert and Ernie.
Yeah.
But out of the two, I think it was just Bert.
It was just Ernie, but I'm going to give that to you because you said Bert
dang
and
it.
Ernie. I would not have been able to name either of them. So, good job. Okay, the person who, according to the Guinness World Book of Records, owns the most rubber ducks is Charlotte. And does she have 10,007 rubber ducks, 783 rubber ducks, or 5,631 ducks?
I think it's 10,000. Go big or go home.
It's only 5,000, but she needs to up her duck game, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay, and the last question. Oh no, wait. Okay, no, I got it. I was like, I forgot to write the answer. Okay, this is the world's largest floating rubber duck. So not just the largest in the world. Is it 89 feet, 61 feet, or 102 feet?
89?
It was only 61 feet.
Oh.
I know.
Okay.
It's we need a larger duck statue, and we need more ducks for Charlotte.
Yes.
Perhaps we can invent the hang gliding duck and market that to her, because clearly she doesn't have it yet.
Clearly. And the hang gliding duck can also be 89 feet long.
Oh my gosh, that would be glorious.
Yes, it would. It would need a very big glider, though, in order to actually look appropriate, but we'll figure it out.
89 feet tall hang gliding duck. That sounds like something in the Macy's Day Thanksgiving Parade.
Sure does.
Needs to exist.
I think we need to contact Macy's and let them know that we have an idea for them.
Oh, well, thank you for playing the first PodKat trivia game.
I'm honored. Thanks for asking me those questions. I'm a little dismayed by the 3 out of 5 that I didn't obtain, but
I'm impressed you're able to say Bert and Ernie. I honestly could not remember that. Once I knew the answer, I was like, oh yeah, I have this whole vision in my head of him singing this song, but it's not information I certainly have at the forefront of my memory.
Slightly unrelated note. Have you ever heard the song Splish Splash I was taking a bath?
Yes, certainly.
Who takes a bath in the middle of a party?
Yeah.
It's one of the philosophical questions that I've been pondering on recently.
I mean, who makes a rubber duck into a chicken?
That's a good one too.
Yeah, I don't know. I discourage people from bathing during parties, but I certainly have ended up in a bathtub at the end of a party, but it was an empty bathtub.
The story.
I like to be comfy. What can I say?
I like it. There you go.
So, do you have any fun recommendations for people right now? Yes.
Recently made an Amazon purchase that has helped my online coursework go by quite quickly, which is great.
Is it kittens?
Yeah, they're pretty great. Find a friend who has kittens and ask for daily kitten pictures. There's a recommendation. But the one that I was actually going to suggest. So Amazon has a bunch of paint by numbers kits.
Oh.
I ordered one. They range in price from like $15 to $50, so, choose based on your budget, I guess. But I ordered one because I have a bunch of podcasts that I have to listen to, and it's the most amazing use of time. It's very relaxing, and you can kind of take your mind off things and work to fill in this pretty picture. So I've really enjoyed that.
So you're saying people should paint by number and listen to PodKat?
Yes, exactly. That is exactly my recommendation.
That sounds very soothing. I saw a friend of mine posted a picture that she had completed of I don't think it was paint. I think it was color by number with colored pencils. And she was took a year to do. And it's huge. I mean, it's 3 feet by 4 feet. It takes up a lot of her wall. And I was at first I was it took you a year to color something. And then I looked at how detailed this thing was. I think it was a dragon. And I was like, holy cow. I could see where you would come back to it and do a little piece here, a little piece there. So.
Dang. I need to up my game. I think mine's only 16 inches by 20 inches. So.
Well, I don't know that you need a project right now that's going to take you a year.
Very true.
But it could help you relax in between work.
Yeah. I've found it very relaxing. So there's my recommendation.
Love that. Thank you. Well, thank you for your time today, answering all of my questions and chatting.
For chatting. This was fun.
Good. Well, thanks to everyone who's listening. I hope you're painting by numbers and enjoying your favorite podcast.
Picking out your favorite duck.
Oh, yes. I think you can get a plain one and like decorate it yourself. We should have a contest.
Yeah, we should. I think we could do this.
Yes. I love it. Okay, well, thanks everybody. Have a beautiful, safe rest of your afternoon. Lauren, would you like to have the final meow?
Meow.
Perfect.